We tend to see plants as, well, just silent, passive parts of our world, right? They're the scenery. But what if I told you that beneath that quiet green surface, there's a complex and dynamic conversation happening all the time? Let's dive into this hidden world.
It's a really simple question, but the answer? It's about to change the way you look at every tree, every flower, every single blade of grass. Because new science is revealing that plants aren't just aware of the world around them, they're actively communicating with it and with each other in ways they're only just starting to understand.
So where do we start? Our story begins with a sound that no human has ever actually heard. It's like a silent scream, and it's the first major clue in this incredible biological mystery. So researchers at Tel Aviv University made this just startling discovery. They found that plants that are under stress, from not having enough water or from being cut, they start emitting these distinct high-frequency sounds. It's kind of like a tiny ultrasonic popping noise, and it's caused by air bubbles forming and collapsing inside the plant's vascular system. But here's the really wild part, the frequency. These sounds are ultrasonic, falling between 20 and 100 kilohertz. That is way beyond what our ears can pick up. But for tons of insects and other animals, it's like a secret channel of communication, a broadcast that we're just not tuned into. The researchers were totally convinced this wasn't just some random biological byproduct. They started to think, what if animals are actively listening to these sounds and using them to make decisions? So the big question became, could they actually prove it?
And this is exactly how they did it. It was such a clever experiment. They focused on female moths, which are always looking for a healthy plant to lay their eggs on. First, they found that the moths were drawn to speakers just playing the stress sounds, thinking a plant was nearby. But here's the crucial part. When they offered two real plants, one healthy and silent and another one with the distress sounds playing, the moths consistently chose the silent, healthy one. They were using the sounds not just to find plants, but to figure out which ones to avoid. That's not just noise. That is absolutely information. Okay, so sound is one thing, but that's just the beginning. This whole idea of plants sensing their environment, well, it builds into an even more mind-bending form of perception, the world of bioelectric signals. For 5 years, a team at the Glor Lab has been deep in a systematic investigation. They've been using custom sensors, just like this one, to tap into the incredibly faint electrical currents that are always flowing through plants. They really wanted to know, could these signals tell us something about the world around the plant? The lead researcher, Peter Glor, and his team, they weren't just looking for random electrical spikes. No, they were hunting for patterns. Specifically, patterns that might correlate with the presence and maybe even the emotional state of the humans nearby.
The setup for this was just incredible. So they hooked up their sensors to a simple basil plant. Then they had people experience a whole range of emotions right there in the same room. After that, they fed all of the plant's electrical data into a machine learning model to see if the AI could learn to tell the difference between happy, sad, angry, or neutral, based only on the signals coming from the plant.
And the result? It's just astonishing. The AI model, listening only to the basil plant, could identify the correct human emotion with 97% accuracy. 97%! Now, to make sure this wasn't just some crazy fluke, they ran a control test where they basically fed the model scrambled, meaningless data. The accuracy plummeted to 30%, which is pretty much just random guessing. The plant was undeniably, measurably, reacting in distinct ways to the emotional state of the person in the room. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Plants making sounds, sensing emotions. It can seem a little radical, right? But what if I told you these new discoveries actually fit perfectly into a much larger and very well-established field of plant communication, the language of chemistry?
Yeah, for decades, scientists have known that plants are absolute masters of chemical conversation. They release this complex cocktail of airborne chemicals. They're called volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, to interact with their environment. This isn't fringe science at all. This is a core part of botany. And this chemical language is incredibly sophisticated. A flower scent isn't just for us. It's a very specific message designed to attract a particular bee. You know that smell of freshly cut grass? Well, that's actually a distress signal. It's a chemical scream that warns neighboring plants of danger and can even summon predatory insects to come attack the pests that are eating it. Plants use these chemicals for everything, to fight, to cooperate, to reproduce, and to defend themselves. So we've got sound, we've got electricity, and we've got chemicals. But all of this just raises this one huge question. Why?
I mean, why would a plant evolve these incredible sensitive abilities? The answer, it turns out, lies in the most fundamental difference between plants and animals. It's called the early warning hypothesis. Think about it. An animal can run away from a threat. A plant is rooted to the spot. Its only hope for survival is to prepare its defenses before it gets eaten. So the ability to detect an approaching herbivore, whether it's through the sounds it makes or its bioelectric field, is a massive evolutionary advantage. It buys the plant precious time to start flooding its leaves with nasty defensive chemicals.
And this right here is where the theory gets really compelling. The Glor lab found that not all plants respond equally. Tasty, vulnerable plants, like basil, they're extremely sensitive bioelectric responders. But plants that already have their own built-in defenses, like bitter-tasting zucchini, they're very weak responders. So it all comes down to this. The plants with the most to lose from a surprise attack have evolved the most sensitive alarm systems. It just makes perfect sense.
So, when you put all of these pieces together, the picture that emerges is, well, it's revolutionary. Our planet isn't just covered in life, it is covered in communicators. Plants are not the static background scenery we once thought they were. They are dynamic, aware beings, constantly engaged in a complex dialogue with the world, through sound waves we can't hear, electrical fields we can't see, and a chemical language we're only just beginning to translate. And this isn't just some fascinating biology lesson. It has profound practical applications. I mean, imagine farms where plants tell us exactly when they need water or warn us about a pest outbreak before we can even see the damage. Picture plant-based biosensors in hospitals that monitor a patient's stress levels. We could even tap into a forest's entire communication network to monitor its overall health. The possibilities are incredible. This research has truly opened up a world that was hidden in plain sight. It forces us to reconsider the very nature of intelligence and communication itself, and it leaves us with this one final, tantalizing question. If we have only just now learned that plants can listen, what on earth will they tell us next?